Good evening, good afternoon. This
Good
is Zia
evening.
from Dhaka.
Yep. Just
We'll be starting in just a few
just
seconds.
1 minute. I'm just gonna log in and then I'm just gonna.
জি শুরু হচ্ছে একটু উনি দেরি করেছেন। জি জি এখনই উনি ইনভাইট করছে, আপনি থাকেন তাই না, আমরা শুরু করছি এক দুই মিনিটে। জি জি এখনই শুরু হচ্ছে, রাখেন, এখনই শুরু হচ্ছে। Can you hear me? Hello. Edward?
Yes. I'm just setting the live session thing. So just give me a moment. This is just almost there.
Technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, my all credential has been deleted for some reason for computer, so I had to reset my all the schedule. I don't know, for some reason. Sorry. I do apologize for that inconvenience.
There should be some other people who are trying to get in. Somebody just called me. So
Okay.
can you please add them in?
Okay. Is there? I don't see anyone there in that.
Next time, make sure you put in waiting room option.
Oh, okay. So you can share your screen, Sujay Rahman, or you can just, maybe you can start.
Introduce and then let me
Yes,
start.
right. All right, welcome to Prerona Television Canada. We are very happy that we are conducting our regular weekly leadership training session. And we are very happy that we are having our regular speaker, uh, Advocate Jiaur Rahman. And sorry, we do apologize for the technical difficulties that we had, and we had to start our session late. Thank you very much for your patience. So I do now request Advocate Jiaur Rahman to continue.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm starting my session, and can you see it right now on the screen?
Yes.
All right. Good evening and good morning. Good evening to Canada and North America, and good morning to Bangladesh and the rest of the world. So I'm also very sorry. We had a glitch, and we couldn't start on time, and that's we will try to fix it next time around. Hopefully, everything will work out fine. So this is the
Excuse
eighth
me. Can you just
session.
full screen that the whole like the PowerPoint presentation? Do that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I think everyone can see the screen. Today's topic is leadership vision and creativity. This is a series that we have been doing for the last 8 weeks. Today is the eighth session, and I'm presenting on the session. So thank you very much. Without further ado, I want to move into the presentation. So let me just click. Okay. Um, Here is a statement. Failure is a leader's opportunity to learn. Failure is a leader's opportunity to learn. So the first point that I would like to mention that every leader can fail. There is no issue of not failing. You can't feel that I'm a leader and I cannot fail. That's not the reality. Normally people fail and learn, people get up. The whole idea is what is it that you're learning from your failure and whether you're being able to apply it in your life and whether you're moving in the right direction. If you're failing and you're slipping all the time, then you're perhaps not doing proper leadership justice to you and your team. So this is the first statement that I want to pop up, and that kind of gives you a feel that every leader has an opportunity to fail as well. In reality, why wouldn't you fail? Because you're dealing with new things. Leader is growing the organization. Leader is doing new things for himself or herself. So therefore, there is an element of risk involved. Any leadership engagement has an element of risk. So that has to be considered, and therefore failing is an option. You can't say it's not an option. So we can fail, but we can learn quickly, and then we can move forward. So moving to the next slide. We have talked about leadership in detail. Therefore, I will not go into detail, but again, since the session starts with the word leadership, we should have the definition. So what is leadership? It is a process of creating a followership through trust building. So first and foremost, leadership is a process. It's not a one-off action that you become a leader one fine day and the rest of the period you are always a leader. It's not the case. You grow into a leadership structure over the years, and you have to do consistently certain things in order to ensure that your leadership is maintained. So why maintain? Because you need a set of people who would be following you. A leader without anyone listening to that person is truly not a leader. That person cannot be called a leader or a guide or a mentor or a coach unless he or she has a reasonably large followership. That means what I say, things that I do passionately, the ideas that I want to promote in the world. Others are warming up to the idea. Others are thinking that, hey, this person is coming up with great new ideas for the future. I want to listen to this person. I want to grow with this person. I believe the person is going to deliver the future to us as he or she has been suggesting. So it's warming up to the feeling that I want to follow this person. If you can't get a followership under your belt, then truly you're not leading. So this is an important component of leadership. And how do you lead? By building the trust. If you engage people and if there is no trust, people will uh, filter out after a while. They might listen to you for a little period, thinking that you are giving the right direction. But once they realize that no, the leadership person is not sharing authentic, credible, trust building issues and viewpoints and perspective, they will just leave you. So you will be out in the cold. So you must consider the three things in this leadership definition. The first one is process. It is a process. You grow into it. You work hard, and you ultimately become a leader, and you create a large cult of people, so to speak, a group of people who would be moving forward with your views, your ideas, and your perspective. And that happens through building a lot of energy and trust and feeling of the feeling that this person is going to truly deliver in the future. And if I'm connected to this person, my journey with his journey is going to be fruitful. Notice everybody is looking for some benefit for himself or herself. So when a follower is following a leader, the follower is also searching for opportunities and benefits. So the leader has to engage those person, and the engagement process can be put into a firm casting by having a trust built into the relationship. So moving on from the definition, let's move to the topic. So we have the word vision in our presentation, and obviously we had covered the word vision previously, but I want to recapitulate on it. And here's the picture of what the vision should look like. So what is it? It is a picture of the future we wish to create. The future has to be sort of painted in your head, and the painter, you being the painter, you bring it onto to the world and the others to follow and listen and realize that, hey, this is a picture we want to associate with. So it actually sits in your head, but if it just sits in your head, it's not going to deliver anything. So you have to effectively communicate. The leader has to effectively communicate this picture, and until it is passionately observed by others, it's not a vision. So we're looking at a number of things. As I mentioned in the previous slide, the issue of trust is so important, and also the visioning process. If you are not trusting your leader, it might sound like a story to you. Somebody telling you that this is what this organization is planning to do. This is what I am thinking of. This is how I want to chart out the future of this organization. So this might be a story to you unless you connect to it, unless you start to absorb the vision yourself, sort of be on the driver's shoe. In other words, the leader is driving the vision forward, and if you are able to walk with him or her, then you can sort of see what's unfolding in front of you, or where is this person coming from. And if the person is coming from in a direction in which you're starting to build a firm, trusting relationship, then it will be easy for you to absorb what he or she is saying. Perhaps not in the first go, but passionately, if you start driving the vision along with that person, then it will slowly seep in. So what is a vision again? It's a very large picture of the future forecasting in the heads of the leader of the organization. So it's a top line plan. It's a top line. It's given from normally from the top. The visions are never given from the bottom up of the organization. It's always the top person or maybe one or two person. Normally it's the top leader. Sometimes it's shared vision, but sometimes it's the top person coming up onto one of the meeting and say, hey, listen, this is the new way we have to move forward in order to do something remarkable for the organization. So the vision is a top line plan given by the top people. It has to be futuristic. An element of future dimension has to be there. If it's mundane, if it's very simple, and if it doesn't create any excitement within your organization, within your own mindset, then the vision is probably not up to the mark. What I'm not trying to say that it has to be a future which is 200 years ahead, but it can be 5, 10 years ahead plan that you could actually envision in your head, and you articulate that in terms of a, let's say, a plan, a strategy, vision planning exercise, and then you bring it to the team and get their views on this project, and then people connect to it, and then the vision setting is properly done, it's firmly grounded, and then people start to move with the vision. So it has to be futuristic, it has to be top line, and it has to be purposeful. This is the important point. Purpose drives everything. If you are driven by a certain purpose, then you can achieve something. Assuming you want to lead somewhere, if you just have the purpose of doing well, then perhaps you will never lead in that domain. But if you say to yourself, this is a vocation that I'm involved in, I want to rise up to the top of the mountain in this field. That means you have set the vision to be at the top of your vocation. So you must be at the top of the mountain. So if you are connecting with the right set of vision, that means the purpose is properly articulated, then only the vision setting will work in front of your audience. If you are not truly understanding the purpose of the organization, then things may not work as you planned for it. So the visioning has to be very purposeful. It has to be futuristic, and it has to be a top line plan. Without these components, it's very hard to have a vision that is set in stone and that will work for the organization. If you're setting visions and if you have to change things around every few months or every 6 months, then there is something wrong with your visioning process or setting of the process, or you just don't have the technology base or the resource base that is needed to get your vision to work in your work environment. So you have to look at the vision from a different angle, maybe bring in other senior people within your organization and reset or recalibrate the vision. Otherwise, your vision will fall flat. And if you are not connected to the vision, and if you're driven by your purpose, then obviously the energy level and the efficiency level and ultimately the productivity level of the organization will fall. Everybody will feel that something is amiss. The energy level is not there. You're just doing your work without having a true purpose. Or why is it that I'm doing this work? Why is it that I'm pushing myself to the limit? If you don't have that why properly framed in your head and maybe structured in company document, and the top management, specifically the boss of the organization, is not there to reminding you of the true purpose of the organization, the vision that he or she is driving towards, then the result will be very lackluster. So moving to the next slide. Visioning of a leader. When we talk about visioning of a leader, we are actually looking at the let me come back. Visioning of a leader. Visioning of a leader is seeing the future and guiding the team to achieve the future through trust, as the word we had been emphasizing, trust, integrity, authenticity, presence of mind, knowledge and skills. So we are going to go a little bit detail on the process, the visioning of a leader. This is actually uh, the process through which he or she brings everybody on board, bringing people's attention towards your vision. So you must have the element of trust, as I mentioned in the previous slides. Integrity is basically your firmness to being just, your firmness on being ethical. What you say is what you believe. You are not pushing something which is inappropriate for society. So that is like the integrity that you must have within the organization, and your work ethics. So integrity must be there. Otherwise, the visioning will again slip and falter. Authenticity is being clear, authentic, meaning it's appropriate. There is no element of falsification in it. It's rational, it's logical, and it's clear, and it's doable, it's authentic. There is no fabricated stories behind your vision. You know that it's not possible, but you're trying to charismatically sell the story to your audience, your team member, thinking that they will pick up the idea and run with it. No, it's not going to work. The authenticity of a leader is important in the visioning process. The presence of mind. Presence of mind is an important area in that sense. You have to be there thinking, believing in the vision, and you must be available in terms of your skills, knowledge, wherewithal to support the vision. You can't be out of your presence of mind in one occasion and then come back the next week and say that, look, I had a different set of mindset last week, and therefore you didn't properly connect with the vision. So this week I'm changing my gear, and this is how I am for this week. That will not work. It will have failure points in terms of authenticity. It will also reduce your integrity. People's trust will also fall or falter. And then presence of mind is actually connected with all of these. So you will be moving in the wrong direction. Knowledge and skills a leader must be having, otherwise the visioning process will not work. You cannot move an organization to the next level unless you know the technical details of the organization. You must be able to understand the pulse and the beat of your organization, its process, its products and services that you are planning to bring out or planning to continue on with the present set of team members. So you have to have that effective knowledge and the skills in order to be considering the visioning process to be properly articulated and properly rolled out into the market, into the audience. So the visioning of a leader is very much connected with the vision itself. So first, the organization must create its vision. And who creates the vision? It's the top line people, perhaps the CEO and maybe a team, or sometimes it's the CEO or the boss of the organization. And visioning of the leader is actually again a process. It doesn't happen on one fine day. You think about these things, you do the exercises on what the future state should hold, and then you start interacting with your team member, try to get their perspective on the process that you're developing. Then you have to show them your trusting relationship. You have to be integrity driven yourself. You must be able to convey to the audience that what you're suggesting or you're sharing is authentic. There's no element of fabrication, falsity in the viewpoints that you're bringing into the market, that you want to do this in the future. So it has to be very relevant. It might be futuristic, but at the same time, it must be logically arrived at. That this future we can arrive at if we follow these structure. So this is what we want from you. This is what you have to connect to, and at the same time, the presence of mind has to be there for you. So others are always around you thinking that, no, hey, this gentleman or woman is driving the organization with a proper footing of the presence of mind. And knowledge and skills we have also shared. Without knowledge and skills, it would be very difficult for charting a very smart team. If you have a very technically smart team, people will fall off your trusting relationship if you don't have the proper knowledge and skills to drive them forward. And in the skills component, we are also looking at effective communication as well. So moving to the next slide, shared vision. This is another component of vision where you are actually sharing your vision with the people. As I mentioned, as a leader, you might have a very good vision, but what is a very good vision going to do without a proper application? So no vision is valued unless it's properly rolled out in the market. You might have a great vision, but nobody is warming up to it. Nobody understands your vision. You're not being properly able to communicate the vision. Your line of thinking and their line of thinking are completely off. And in no way you're being able to bring them to your line of thinking. So you're the lone man standing. Then obviously the vision is going to break down. So sometimes the idea of shared vision is appropriate. And how shared vision is appropriate, you create the vision along with the people in your organization. Others come up with their ideas, they do their brainstorming, they are given the exercise of looking into the future and what the future should hold. Then you come back, you brainstorm again, you try to come up with the future direction of the organization and how we need to get to those positions. That is a component which might be of value to the audience and your team members. So it shared vision has a number of components. The first one is effectively communicated, and it has to be clarity driven, and it has to be authentic. We have talked about it in previous slides. So the most important point is that it has to be clear, and it has to be giving an element of truth. That means what you're projecting, what you're suggesting to your team is doable, it's possible if the team works as per your vision, as per your direction. But you want the team to actually engage in this process. So you are bringing them in the dynamics. And if you are bringing them in the dynamic, then you're actually creating the shared vision of the organization. Point number two, interests have to be created. Again, if no interest is there amongst your senior members, then it's just like talking to a inanimate object. You're talking to a wall. There is no response from the other side. It's not going to do anything. So the interest amongst your team members, people around you who are warming up to this idea or are in the process of warming up, they have to be brought into the interest fold. So the interest is important, and the interest has to be properly communicated, or it's the other way around. Your passion has to be properly communicated so that the interest level rises. So people start to realize that there is something magical taking place, or whatever is being shared, maybe I can relate to. And if they can relate to, then the issue of shared vision is actually taking place, because you have not firmly created the vision as of yet. You have a clay of vision in front of the audience, and you're allowing the audience to play with the clay and recreate a new vision, which might be away from the vision that you were considering, but obviously it will have a strong connectivity with that vision as well. So that way it's a shared vision that everyone is warming up to, what everyone is believing in. Everyone has developed a trusting relationship, and everyone wants to move ahead with that vision passionately. The vision has to be logical and necessary. If you say that you are a manufacturing company and all of a sudden, if you say that I think there is a huge market in, let's say, Alaska, and I've been reading this article, and I am stationed in, let's say, Dhaka or Delhi or some other city which is way out of reach of Alaska, then it may not be very logical. It may not be very necessary to talk about these issues to your team at this point, because you don't have the set of tools, set of wherewithals, the technology, the process, the team, the supply chain at all set up to talk about a potential positioning of your products and services in the Alaska market. You must have other plans which are necessary and logical, which are right next to your demographic zone. So if you had talked about those markets, it could have been more logical and they were more necessary for the growth of the organization. So this is a component we have to be considering. It has to be logical and it has to be necessary. Otherwise, people will not be connecting to your vision. And onboarding is actually not just creating interest, not just feeling that it's necessary, but actually passionately coming on board with the vision. You're saying that, hey, we have heard your story. This is the new story that we are working with, which is in connection with your story. And you have also agreed to the new story. Let's work on it. Let's do it. Let's give it a go. So that is onboarding. So you have to get a set of people now who have to be onboarded. Remember, a leader cannot bring everyone on board in on one seating. It normally doesn't happen. But if you can get a majority of the people warming up to your idea and believing that, hey, here's an option, here's a potential, here's something that which may work, and I think we are in the right direction. So everybody has to believe that yes, whatever outcome that we had from this meeting, we are moving in the right direction. We are moving with a particular design, a future state for the organization. If that kind of feeling is brought into the meeting, then you are actually done a large part of shared visioning process in the organization. So shared vision is in today's market has a very uh, relevancy, because once you have a shared vision framed and it's now no longer in a clay kind of situation, it's more firm now. People can sort of relate to it much better. People understand what needs to be done to get to the vision. Then automatically the vision is rolled into the market for that organization. From that day forward, people will start to act and react along with the visioning that had been set, the shared visioning that had been set for the organization. Anything that they will be doing, they will try to relate back to the vision by asking that, what is it that I'm doing? Is it related to the outcome that we had set, let's say last week, for the organization as our shared vision? If it's not connected to that vision, we might have to change the work that we are doing at this point. So it will all be connecting with the vision. So everything will gravitate around the vision, the shared vision that you have set for the organization. And this shared vision is so important and it will clearly show that people are being efficient. And if the shared vision is clearly understood, then people will relate to it quicker, faster, and therefore the efficiency level will rise. So these important points are to be considered when we are designing the shared vision for the organization. Once again, the top line person creates the vision of the organization. If it's a particular vision, it can be done by one person, the top person of the organization. It is possible. But when you're talking about shared vision, you have to bring in other people, more than two. It probably is a few people. You don't go for a shared vision by talking to every single person in your management ranks. Probably not. You might get some viewpoints on certain direction that you want the organization to move by giving out some questionnaire saying that what is it that you want to see in this organization come be brought in the next 2 3 years in terms of products and services and the values, etc., like the core values. What are the values that you want to bring forward? So those are connected issues to shared vision, but normally the shared vision is again done by a number of people, not too many. So moving to the next slide. Leadership presence, as we mentioned, presence of mind, it's the same thing, leadership presence. So what is leadership presence? The best leaders usually have something beyond their behavior, something very distinctive that commands attention, when people's trust and enables them to lead successfully, which is often called leadership presence. And it is given by Scholar in 2011 in an article, and Scholar is an academic. So he's talking about the best leaders who are going beyond their behavior. It's not just behavior, it's beyond behavior. Something very unique, something special that others probably are not being able to share within the team. And it will attract attention of other people. People will warm up to you and your trust will be won by them. And it will allow them to trust you and build a relationship with you and actually successfully follow you. So they will allow you to be led. They will say that here is the organization or here is the set of people with whom we want to work with, and whatever direction and guidance and visioning that these people are sharing, I am absolutely onboarded on those vision, and I want to work with them because I want to be led. So this is important. The leadership presence is therefore be something extra beyond just leadership. It has to be distinctive and it must command a certain level of respect. That means it has to add a certain level of value to your leadership traits and your leadership behavior. It's something beyond that presence. It cannot be quantified. It can be at times your extreme passion. It can be at times your extreme rigor. It times in times it might be your extreme people management skills and trying to convey and convince people repeatedly over a certain direction so that people truly starts to realize that there is some value to what he or she is saying. It could be any of these, and it could be even something more which I have not talked about. But logically, you can think of many other attributes which can actually create your leadership presence. For example, if there is a factory related chaos and you are stepping outside your comfort zone and really taking charge of certain situation and trying to convey that I am here, I will not allow any one of you to fail. So that is something extra. That is something distinctive that will ultimately command the trust of your people. People will be passionate to what you are doing, and therefore they will relate to you easily, and therefore things that you would like to do in future will be easier because they are relating to you. They have given their allegiance, their their trusting relationship to you, and they will be your good follower. So this is something called leadership presence. So this leadership presence is vital in terms of the leadership visioning. This leadership presence is vital in terms of the shared visioning process, because at the end, you are the leader. You have to conform and you have to finalize the shared vision. The shared vision has to be finally approved by the top management. And you being at the helm of the top management, it is your baby ultimately. You can't say after a few months or a year that, look, it was not my vision, it was their vision. And it failed because I didn't particularly warm up to the vision. You can't say that. Shared vision, your stamp of approval has to be firmly grounded. So leadership presence in all these avenues, on all these conditions, have to be considered. Moving to the next slide. Creative leadership, again, is connected with all the previous components, but a creative person is someone who can think beyond the obvious. Uh, I might be a artist, but if I'm not creative, if my designs are not truly something unique, I will not sell my artwork. So my creativity will not be seen by others. Uh, if I don't have creativity, people will not buy my artwork. Therefore, I'm not creative. Similarly, a leader has to show some kind of ingenuity, some kind of newness, some kind of innovation, something remarkable that on a regular day-to-day basis he had never shown this. So that is part of creativity. So creativity and flexibility are synonymous. So you have to be flexible in terms of your decision making, in terms of your attitude on the floor, in terms of your behavior. When I talk about flexible, I'm not suggesting you vacillate, that you move from one this point to another abruptly without paying much attention to the needs of the hour. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is, given a certain set of conditions, if there is a need for some transitioning to take place, you as a leader, you must be able to change your style and move with the new flow of the design that is needed or perhaps appropriate given the context. The context creates the issue of flexibility. If there is no context to change anything, unless you have a proper reason to do so, you may not be flexible. You can follow through your visioning that you had set at the beginning of the year. But if there are a lot of changes that are taking place in the market, for example, in today's market, the pandemic situation has probably changed a lot of visioning of the future for different organizations. A 5-year plan of any organization has to be revisited, right? It cannot be planned as per what had been planned, let's say in January, whereas in February and March, things were tossed upside down. So those are elements of flexibility. As a leader, you have to bring into your creative leadership. Then changing leadership styles. These are an element that which we are going to talk about in detail in future slides. So without going into any details, I will just pick one issue from those style issue. The issue is concern for tasks versus people. A creative leader will have to balance between your focus of your task versus the concern or focus of your people. Certain points you have to meander, and you have to find a new route to arrive at a certain decision. The old way is not working, or maybe there are some challenges that needs to be addressed first. So if you're just concerned about the task, you may not be concerned about the people challenge. that has popped up in this new situation. And if you say that, I don't want to hear about those issues, I want this thing to be done. Sometimes, as a very powerful leader, you can drive forward and get your achievement done. done. But sometimes you might it might ricochet back and it might boomerang back. So you have to be able to understand what is the focus in terms of the concern for the task and versus the people. So if you balance them and if you navigate based on the balance, you're definitely showing creative leadership. Again, if you do it on a very regular basis, then the element of creativity will vanish and you will be considered a vacillating leader. So you must understand where to draw the line, how far out you might want to stretch this concern for tasks versus concern for people. The other point we have talked about, authentic relationship and authenticity in practice. It's important. You have to be careful as to making sure that what you're preaching is truly the story. You're not fabricating things. You're not blowing things out of proportion. You're not trying to hoodwink your people into believing something. You are moving with the right direction, with the right information, and it must be evidence-based uh, in some cases. So that is authenticity. You must also be authentic in terms of creating your leadership from a creative point of view. Leadership presence, we again talked about, you have to do that something distinctly different, something additional to a normal, mundane leadership behavior and traits. You have to step out of your comfort zone and do something magical, the extra, that given the condition of the uh, operation that is needed at present. So that is the leadership presence. The mastery of inner traits. This is actually a self journey and a psychological profiling of your own self. Understanding that every human being goes through different phases and your relationship to the world is in some ways governed by your childhood memories, your childhood behavior, things that had happened 5, 10 years. Those have maybe a monster at the back of your head, and any challenge that comes up that kind of relates to that uh, previous story or previous issue that had troubled you tremendously, then you sort of become very psychologically fixated, and then you don't make the rational decision. So those are the issues on your self journey that you have to revert back to and try to understand and logically sequence those issues so that your leadership is not affected indirectly or inappropriately. So you have to have a mastery of your inner traits, and it doesn't happen overnight. Again, a lot of mindfulness exercises. We're going to do those later. Lot of self-indulgence and self-believing of what is it that you truly want to achieve. Those type of exercises, those type of mindset mapping perspectives have to be looked into. People do different things like yoga, a lot of mental exercises to improve your mastery of your inner traits. So we have another session on it. So we will move to the next slide. So these are the creative leadership angles or traits, if you want to call them traits, that you must be you must be uh, in your organization and in your mindset, and you must visibly show that you are able to be flexible. You can change with this changing circumstances. You have a good concern and a balance between the concern for task and people. What you're saying is authentic. You have the proper presence of mind, leadership presence of mind, and you have actually achieved the inner traits, mastery of the inner traits. If you have these 5 components built into your um, own leadership process, design of your own self, then you are right, moving in the right direction as a leader. Moving to the next slide, we are going to our last slide, which is we're bringing the $1,000,000 question. So what is this question? Can a leader survive with hard work and charisma without setting a proper vision? So can he or she survive? That is the question. With a lot of work, zest for work, tremendously hardworking person, and a good level of charisma, he can convince or she can convince others to just follow him for a while. Remember, charisma is something that stays with you for a certain time. After a while, if the real deal is not noticed, then the charisma wears off. That means it's in some ways is slightly cosmetic. You put on a show, basically. It's not truly you. You show your charisma and try to win people on board. For example, a authentic salesperson versus a charismatic salesperson. At the end of the day, you need both. You need charisma to attract people, definitely. But at the end of the day, you want an authentic salesperson driving these sales for your organization. Otherwise, people will not be warming up and building trust. On a charismatic person, research shows the trusting level grows slowly unless he or she can truly share that the charismatic behavior is also a truly a, internal component of the person's character. And the true person is truly charismatic with behavior traits. Once that behavior is established, the feeling is established, then people think that this charisma is an added value. Otherwise, when you're trying to be Mr. Smart or Mr. Uh, Sweet and sharing certain things which are obviously giving a feeling that you are doing something out of the way to bring that person to take notice of you or you notice of your product, then it may break down after a while when truly you're not that particular type of person. So when only charisma and hard work is being pushed upon as a leader, it may not properly work. So uh, to me, the leader probably will fail in a certain timeline without having a proper vision. So the point of this last $1,000,000 question is to give you a sense of the idea that without vision, an organization is going to falter, is going to slip. Similarly, if you as a professional, as a human being, if you don't have your vision properly sketched in stone, etched in stone, you may not be moving in the right leadership direction. You will not be truly considered a leader. So your visioning has to be appropriate. Remember, we talked about all those other elements being flexible, being authentic, uh, being at the same time realistic and logical and necessary for the time being. Those elements combined, if your vision is not properly set, then no matter how hard you work and how charismatic you are, your potential possibility of failure is much higher than someone who has spent a lot of time and setting the vision and working hard. You have to work hard and smart in today's market. So I will rephrase the question in this sense, but through a statement saying that if a proper vision supported by good work and a good level of charismatic characteristic in leadership characteristic will bring you the fruits that you are envisioning for your organization at the end of the day. So with this, I conclude the session, today's session, and on the areas of leadership, creativity, and the visioning. A lot of issues are there. We are going to go into deeper understanding level in future presentations that we are having on a regular basis. So right now, I will bring others to respond. If there are some questions or queries, please feel to ask. So now back to Edward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I'm very happy that you had a wonderful presentation today. It's a very important topic. I would like to just share, my thoughts, and I do have questions for you. Let me just get my screen. Sorry, did I? Okay.
Do you want me to bring back the
Yes, if
slide?
you can, because I was just trying to get my screen. Um, just hold on for sure. Okay. Yeah, I do have. If you can go to the next one. Yeah, next slide.
Sorry.
Right. So the million-dollar question. Yes,
You want to
we have.
start with the $1 million question?
No, right. From the beginning.
From the
Sorry.
beginning. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just kind of briefly, within a couple of minutes, just share with you
Sure.
what we
You,
just
you can
discussed.
start.
We learned the leadership. Today's topic is very interesting and very important. Is actually leadership, vision, and creativity. So, as a leader, we have to create that vision, and it's a process creating a followership through a trust building. That's very important. Next slide, please. Right. There are actually vision, right? So here, what is my question is how a leader, effective leader, can right have that vision, right, or create a vision to you, Mr. Roman. If you can share with us, like, how a leader can vision, like, or create a vision.
First and foremost, the leader must have a command of the industry or command of the areas in which he is or she is trying to create the vision on. So having a very good grasp of the future is essential to create the vision. That's probably point number one. The other is to have a long industry related connectivity. So even if you perhaps don't have the vision yourself, you can get the idea from the market, from the industry. So these are the two components which one must have, and based on that, the technical know-how as to how to package the vision and properly communicate to the audience. So I think these are the essential tools for creating the leadership vision.
All right. So if I understand correctly, I am a layman, means I have no idea about leadership, and I'm new to the industry, and I don't have any idea. So something actually is pushing me to at least have vision. Like, for example, like I see there is a tremendous pressure, like there is a um, pressure from outside, like means the external forces that's actually have a challenges. So I see, right, my competitors are doing well, I'm not doing well. So something is wrong, right? So, like, see, right, we need to get like the top line plan. So these are the challenges that we actually face every day. So in that particular scenario, when I am new to this leadership concept and things, so when I'm having those challenges where my competitors are doing well, or my, the other person is doing well, So I need to have some vision so that I can go forward, or at least that meet that standard. If there is an industry standard, I meet that. If there is a that's a is a standard set by the industry, that I have to meet that one. So in order to do that, I need to have a very clear vision. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so
Sorry.
the shared vision, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so the visioning of leader we already did discussed. I don't want to do because you already covered all those things. I'm just gonna do briefly because only think there are few questions I have, so I'm gonna share with you. The shared vision is very important here. I do understand, like when we are working in an organizations, you are working in a team, right? So there is a group of people are working in a common vision, right? So our shared vision. So one of the basic things that's important is effectively communicated. The clarity has to be there, and interests have to be created, logical and necessary. So here, my questions to Mr. Jiaur Rahman, right? What do you think when we don't actually write, like when do right for example, when you're not effectively communicating, we when we are not communicating properly. So what are the problems might occur, right, when you're not doing the right thing here?
All right, thank you very much. I believe if you're not properly communicating, then it is a issue within yourself. You have to start thinking that what is it that I was perhaps doing right previously? Am I changing something which is not proper, which is not appropriate? Am I conveying something which is too difficult? If it's too difficult, do I need to break it down into manageable pieces? Then what is my form of communication? Is it through email? Is it a verbal communication? Is it an online communication? Do I need to change my channel of communication? Then if I am communicating to a larger audience pool, what ways I'm communicating? Am I using my top managers to communicate? Have I properly conveyed my sense of the issue to that person properly? Or is there some lag, or is there some lacking between my communication and how things are being properly understood? You have to take those consideration. If some gaps are there in these process, then you have to re-navigate and you have to recalibrate the process and look at the issue from a different angle and make sure a certain changes are brought in to the communication process. And that's
Correct.
how you can
So I have
actually
another
evolve the
questions for you.
communication.
I have another
Yes.
questions for you, right? For example, situations where we can think is like when maybe a supervisor or manager is having a vision, and then you as a co-worker or maybe a subordinate don't feel that you're not involved in the process, or like that there is no interest is not been created, and it is not logical to you, and then like you're not trusting your supervisor. So in that particular scenario, right, what are these are the challenges probably to, like, this is definitely a challenges for a manager or maybe a owner or CEO. So what actions can be taken in order to at least involved or uh, involve others into the process of this shared vision?
Okay, this is a very important challenge and this happens on a regular basis. So if you are the manager and your subordinate is not warming up to your idea, what is it that you can do as a manager and what is it you can do as an employee? They have two different sets of mindset. The reason they're not warming up to each other is there's no mindset mapping between the two. So the leader, in this case, the manager, has to review the ways in which he or she is communicating. Is his or her communication way beyond the level of comprehension of the junior? That's one thing he or she has to consider. And all the other issues that we talked about in my presentation, the manager has to also worry about whether it's authentic, whether it's logical, what is it that he's saying is truly something which is possible or remotely possible. If these elements are, if these elements are considered, then perhaps they, he or she can go back to uh, the junior and say that, look, the other day I talked about this, you probably didn't understand what is it that I wanted to convey. I want to share it to you from a different angle. Please listen to what I'm suggesting, and then you can make a decision. That could be one way. The other way is the junior can also start reflecting on his or her capacity to grab new knowledge, or whether that person is having a blinder on his face. So if you have a blinder, and then light will not come through the door. So you have to take out the blinder and let people's ideas seep in. So it's a very complex situation. This happens on a regular basis. The only way to move beyond is through properly communicating again. If need be, you need to sit more often than one time and break things down into manageable pieces. Maybe you don't want to share the entire idea in one go. Maybe you give an idea of the things that needs to be done, but you again tell your uh, superior junior that at this point, let's not worry about the entire story or the entire vision. Let's work on the small manageable pieces and then move with the idea. So sometimes things have to be retooled and recalibrated. And that's how you can bring your junior member on board. And if there's an issue with the junior and the junior is absolutely not listening to something which is appropriate, you can also try your strategy with other people. Is somebody in his or her capacity, maybe in another department, getting what you're saying and getting it properly, but this person is not getting it at all, then it might be an issue with the employee, and that employee needs to be discussed on his capability and comprehension level. Maybe that can be a different exercise altogether.
All right.
So
Thank you
you
very
can't
much.
push.
I think because of time, I just need to just
Sure.
put the next slide, please, the last one, and then
Okay.
we have to,
Yes, I'm sorry I
yeah.
overrun a bit. Leadership
Okay.
presence.
I think leadership presence. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Okay.
Yeah, the creative leaderships, and we already discussed this one. Can you go to the $1 million question? All right. So here we can see how can a leader survive, or can a leader survive with hard work and charisma without setting a proper vision? So that's very important to understand that without setting a proper vision. So, right, we already discussed earlier when your co-workers or your other team members don't feel that they're not involved into the process. The leader might be charismatic, they might achieve some things, but right, it is just running something without right properly getting all support from all the parts of it. So I guess that's not the should not be right approach. So it is not a question for me, my observation, this is not my question. My observation would be, it's not question of survival. Yeah, might survive, but question is whether right, the purpose is actually met. The purpose for any organizations is actually to right, when we like do anything right with the teams, like whether we are having a specific goals for achieving some things, we need to at least have we need to involve others. We need to make themselves like them, bring them that sense of belongingness within themselves, so that they're involved in this. So the retentions, the employee retentions are there, so they feel like they're working with the projects and everything. So I guess what is very important to set a proper vision. So when we have a proper vision, then we can go forwards. So with that, I would like to end the English part of these presentations, and I would like to briefly share with you those who are with us, those who speak Bengali, uh, Bangla, right, the audience. So I'd like to briefly share this presentation in a couple of minutes. We are actually, our our session is tend to end at 9:30. So we have a couple of minutes so that we share uh, our thoughts in Bengali. Thank you very much. If you can go back from the beginning. All right. প্রেরণা টেলিভিশন কানাডার পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদের সবাইকে স্বাগতম। আজকে আমরা যে বিষয়ে আলোচনা করেছি লিডারশিপ, যে নেতৃত্বের যে আমরা যে ভিশন এবং ক্রিয়েটিভিটি যে বিষয়টা আমরা আলোচনা করছি, খুবই একটা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ বিষয়। আমরা খুবই আনন্দিত আমাদের সাথে অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমান রয়েছেন, উনি আমাদের প্রেজেন্টেশনটা করিয়েছেন। তো আমি আপনাদের সাথে খুব সংক্ষেপে কয়েকটা বিষয় আলোচনা করতে চাই যে বর্তমানে আমরা যে চ্যালেঞ্জের মধ্যে দিয়ে যাচ্ছি, আমাদের রেগুলার যে উইকলি সিরিজ লিডারশিপ স্পিকার সিরিজ আমরা প্রত্যেক বুধবার রাত 8টা এডমন্টন টাইম, টরন্টো টাইম রাত 10টা এবং বাংলাদেশ টাইম সকাল 8টা পরবর্তী দিন আমরা এই অনুষ্ঠানটা করি। আমাদের যে লিডারশিপের যে বিষয়টা আজকে আমরা লক্ষ্য করেছি, আমি খুব ব্রিফলি এখানে আপনাদের সাথে আলোচনা করছি। সেটা হচ্ছে যে লিডারশিপ সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে আমরা যখন নেতৃত্বের কথা বলি তখন আমাদের যে আস্থা গঠন করাটা হচ্ছে আমাদের খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। কারণ আমরা জানি অর্গানাইজেশনে যখন আমরা কাজ করি, আমাদের আমরা যখন একসাথে কাজ করি অর্গানাইজেশনে, আমাদের নেতৃত্বের কিন্তু যারা আমাদের সাথে কাজ করছে কোওয়ার্কার, তাদের আমরা তাদেরকে নিয়ে আমরা সঠিক লক্ষ্যে আমরা পৌঁছে যেতে পারি তখনই যখন তাদের মধ্যে আস্থা থাকে, তাদের মধ্যে বিশ্বাস থাকে। আমরা পরবর্তী স্লাইডে যাই। এখন আমাদের যে লিডারশিপ যে ভিশন, আমাদের যে লক্ষ্য যেটা আছে, যে আমরা কিভাবে এটা করতে পারি। তো এখন আমি যে বিষয়টা খুব সংক্ষেপে আলোচনা করব যে লিডারশিপের যে ভিশন বা লক্ষ্যটা হওয়া উচিত তখনই যখন মানুষ যখন নেতৃত্ব যখন বুঝে যে না, আমাদের সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে যেতে হবে, বিকজ আমাদের অনেক চ্যালেঞ্জেস রয়েছে, আমাদের অনেক কিছু মোকাবেলা করতে হবে। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমাদের অবশ্যই দৃষ্টিভঙ্গিতে ভবিষ্যতের উপর ভিত্তি করে যে না, আমরা আজকে এই পজিশনে বা এই অবস্থানে রয়েছি, আগামী দিনে আমরা এই অবস্থানে যাবো। আমাদের কম্পিটিটর বা আমাদের যারা প্রতিদ্বন্দ্বী রয়েছে তারা এখন ভালো করছে কিন্তু আমরা ভালো করছি না, সুতরাং আমরা সেদিকে লক্ষ্য করে আমরা করতে পারি। পরবর্তী স্লাইডে যান কাইন্ডলি। এখন নেতৃত্বের যে বিষয়টা রয়েছে, যে ভিশনিং, যে লক্ষ্য, তা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের আমরা জানি যে আমরা আমি আমি আমরা আগেও বলেছি যে আমাদের লিডার, যে আমরা তাদের সাথে আমরা একটা টিমে বা একটা আমরা দলে যখন আমরা কাজ করি তখন আমাদের তাদের কিন্তু নেতৃত্ব দেয়, এবং এটা আমরা তখনই অর্জন করতে পারি যখন আমাদের মধ্যে সেই আস্থা থাকে, আমাদের মধ্যে সততা থাকে, আমরা যা বলছি তা জানি সেই সঠিক থাকে, এবং আমাদের যে আমরা যা করছি তার জন্য আমাদের যে দক্ষতা এবং আমাদের যে জ্ঞান যেটা আমাদের থাকে, যে আমাদের এক্সাম্পল হিসেবে বলতে পারি যে আমাদেরকে নেতৃত্ব দিচ্ছে তার সেই দক্ষতা এবং সেই থাকতে হবে, এবং তারা যখন আমাদের সাথে সেভাবে থাকে, যখন আমরা যাদের সাথে সেই টিমে বা সেই দলে কাজ করছি, আমাদের সেই সেই আস্থা আমরা তখনই অর্জন করতে পারবো যে আমরা আমরা যখন দেখবো যে আমাদের মধ্যে সেই দক্ষতাটা রয়েছে। সুতরাং এখানে আমাদের সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে আমরা যখন দলে কাজ করি এই বিষয়গুলো আমাদেরকে লক্ষ্য রাখতে হবে। পরবর্তী স্লাইডে যান প্লিজ। আমাদের শেয়ার্ড ভিশন, যে আমরা যে লিডারশিপের সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে আমরা সঠিকভাবে আমরা আমাদের কমিউনিকেট করব, মানে আমরা যোগাযোগ করব। এটা টু ওয়ে কমিউনিকেশন। আমরা জানি যখন আমরা কোনো গ্রুপে কাজ করি, দলে কাজ করি, আমাদের ইফেক্টিভলি আমাদের কমিউনিকেট করতে হবে, এবং আমাদের হচ্ছে যে আমরা কেন করছি, নিশ্চয়ই একটা পারপাস রয়েছে, নিশ্চয়ই একটা লক্ষ্য রয়েছে। তো লক্ষ্যটার জন্য আমাদের সেই আগ্রহটা জাগ্রত করতে হবে যে কেন আমরা এই কাজ করছি, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য রেশনাল বিহাইন্ড ইট, কি কারণে আমরা কাজ করতে গেছি, এটা কি লজিক্যাল, এটার কি কোনো যুক্তি রয়েছে, এবং এটা কি আসলে দরকার, নেসেসারি। এবং তখন হবে কি, যখন যদি আমরা এটা কাজটা করি তখন দেখা যাবে যে আমাদের সাথে যারা আমাদের দলে রয়েছে বা আমাদের টিমের মধ্যে রয়েছে, তারা কিন্তু আমাদের তখন বিশ্বাস করতে শুরু করবে, তখন কিন্তু আমরা লক্ষ্য অর্জনে আমাদের জন্য সহজ হবে। নেক্সট স্লাইড প্লিজ। এখন আমাদের আরেকটা বিষয় যেটা লক্ষ্য করতে হবে, যখন আমরা লিডার যারা নেতৃত্ব যারা দেয়, আমাদের কিন্তু তাদের সবচেয়ে বড় একটা চ্যালেঞ্জ আমি মনে করি যে এখানে যে মানুষের আস্থা গ্রহণ করা বা এবং তাদেরকে সঠিকভাবে পরিচালনা করা কিন্তু একটা কিন্তু প্রয়োজন রয়েছে, এবং সেক্ষেত্রে যে লিডারশিপের নেতৃত্বের যে আমাদের এখানে যে প্রেজেন্স যেটাকে বলে, যে নেতৃত্বটা মধ্যে রয়েছে এবং তাদের মধ্যে সেই আগ্রহটা জাগ্রত করা এবং তাদেরকে নিয়ে কাজ করা, এইটা কিন্তু যারা সঠিক নেতৃত্বের অনুসরণ করে এবং যাদেরকে আমরা ভালো নেতৃত্ব দান করে আমরা বলি, তাদের মধ্যে কিন্তু এটা রয়েছে। সুতরাং এটা খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ যে আমাদের এই বিষয়গুলো লক্ষ্য রাখতে হবে। পরবর্তী স্লাইড। এখন ক্রিয়েটিভ লিডারশিপ আমরা জানি আমাদের লিডারশিপের অনেক ধরনের মডালিটি বা আমরা অনেকভাবেই আমরা লিডারশিপ নেতৃত্বের কাজ করতে পারি। তো ক্রিয়েটিভলি আমরা কিভাবে কাজ করতে পারি? ফ্লেক্সিবিলিটি থাকতে হবে, যাতে যাদেরকে নিয়ে কাজ করছি তাদের হয়তো বা তাদের অন্য ভিউ পয়েন্ট থাকতে পারে বা অন্য ধরনের উপায়ে তারা কাজ করতে পারে। সুতরাং সেক্ষেত্রে আমাদের ফ্লেক্সিবিলিটি থাকতে হবে। আমরা কিন্তু বিভিন্ন কাজে একই অর্গানাইজেশনে কিন্তু অনেক ধরনের কাজ হতে পারে, তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমাদের বিভিন্ন লিডারশিপ স্টাইল আমরা ফলো করতে পারি এবং সেক্ষেত্রে শুধু একটাই ফলো করব তা না, এবং আমাদের সেক্ষেত্রে কিন্তু যারা আমাদের সাথে কাজ করছে তাদেরকে নিয়ে আমাকে বুঝতে হবে যে না, আমরা উই আর ওয়ার্কিং ইন নাম্বার এ, একজন ব্যক্তির সাথে কাজ করছি, তার সাথে কাজ করলে আমার যে লিডারশিপ স্টাইলটা কিভাবে হওয়া উচিত, আরেকজনের সাথে কাজ করছি বা আরেকটা গ্রুপের সাথে কাজ করছি, তাদের সাথে আমাদের কি ধরনের কাজ করে। অথেন্টিসিটি যেটা রয়েছে যে আমাদের এটার মধ্যে যে আম, এটা কি এটার যে ভেরিফাইড, এটা আমরা আসলে কিভাবে এটাকে আমরা মূল্যায়ন করব, এটার কি আসলে সেই আহ, সে গুরুত্ব রয়েছে কিনা, এটা আমাদেরকে খেয়াল রাখতে হবে। এর আগে আমরা অলরেডি আমরা লিডারশিপ প্রেজেন্ট সম্পর্কে আলোচনা করছি এবং আরেকটা ব্যাপার হচ্ছে যে আমরা জানি এটা কিন্তু সবসময় কিন্তু চলমান ধারা। অ্যাকচুয়ালি লিডারশিপের যে এটা আমরা যারা লিডার বা যারা নেতৃত্ব দেয়, সিইও বা কোম্পানির ম্যানেজার বিভিন্ন, তারা কিন্তু সবসময় ট্রেনিং এর মধ্যে থাকে। সুতরাং আমাদের কিন্তু মাস্টারি অফ ইনার ট্রেডস, এই যে আমাদের সফট স্কিল রয়েছে, সবসময় কিন্তু আমাদের এই দক্ষতাটা অর্জন করতে হয় এবং এই ট্রেডস এর মাধ্যমে কি লক্ষ্যটা কি, এট দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে আমরা যেটা চাচ্ছি যে আমরা যাতে মোর প্রোডাক্টিভ হতে পারি। আমরা যদি বা মানে পার্সোনালি যদি বলি, তা আমাদের কিন্তু উই হ্যাভ টু বি বেটার স্পিকার, উই হ্যাভ টু বি বেটার কমিউনিকেটর। তাহলে মানে কি, দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে উই ক্যান, আমাদের যে লক্ষ্য রয়েছে যে না, আমি আজকে এই পজিশনে রয়েছি, আর একটা পজিশনে যাব, নেক্সট লেভেলে যাব। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমাদের কিন্তু মাস্টারি অফ ইনার ট্রেস্ট ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। তারপরে আমাদের নেক্সট স্লাইড প্লিজ। ওকে, এখন $1,000,000 কোয়েশ্চেন যেটা রয়েছে সেটা খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ যে একজন লিডারের যে শুধু তার হার্ড ওয়ার্ক মানে কঠোর পরিশ্রম করে এবং তাদের তাদের যে ক্যারিসমেটিক যে যে একটা যে একটা ভাবমূর্তি রয়েছে, যে ভাবমূর্তি তার মাধ্যমে শুধু যদি তার প্রপার কোনো ভিশন বা সঠিক কোনো লক্ষ্য না থাকে, শুধু মাত্র কঠিন পরিশ্রমের মাধ্যমে কি তারা কি সার্ভাইভ করতে পারে? তো আমার কাছে যে প্রশ্নটা বা আমার যে দৃষ্টিভঙ্গিটা, এটা একটু অন্যরকম। প্রশ্নটা সার্ভাইভ মানে হচ্ছে কোন রকম ভাবে এই অবস্থান থেকে মোকাবেলা করা, কিন্তু আমার কাছে সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে যদি এটা পারপাস ড্রিভেন হয়, যে কোনো কিছু করার পিছনে নিশ্চয়ই একটা লক্ষ্য রয়েছে পারপাস ড্রিভেন। যদি এটা পারপাস ড্রিভেন না হয় তাহলে কি হয়? আমরা যদি অন্যদেরকে ইনভলভ না করি, আমরা আগে আলোচনা করছি যে যদি আমরা অন্যদেরকে না আমরা আমাদের মধ্যে আনি, আমাদের কো ওয়ার্কার বা আমাদের টিম মেম্বারদেরকে না আনি, তাহলে হবে কি যে আমরা সেই লক্ষ্য কিন্তু অর্জন করতে পারবো না। সুতরাং একজন নেতৃত্বের শুধু কাজ করা মানে তার হার্ড ওয়ার্কের মাধ্যমে, তার ক্যারিসমেটিক যে ভাবমূর্তি রয়েছে তার মাধ্যমেই সে অথবা সার্ভাইভ করতে পারে পার্সোনালি, বাট এট দ্য টিম, একটা অর্গানাইজেশন হিসেবে দ্যাটস নট আ সার্ভাইভাল, দ্যাটস নট অ্যাকচুয়ালি প্রোডাক্টিভ ভাবে সে জিনিসটা হচ্ছে না। সুতরাং এটা আমাদের খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। আমরা জানি সব অর্গানাইজেশনে এই চ্যালেঞ্জ রয়েছে। সুতরাং আমি আজকের প্রেজেন্টেশনে আপনাদেরকে ধন্যবাদ দিতে চাই, বিশেষ করে অ্যাডভোকেট জিয়াউর রহমান, আপনি আমাদের সাথে ছিলেন। আমি আপনাদের সবাইকে আবার আমন্ত্রণ জানাতে চাই আমাদের নেক্সট আগামী সপ্তাহে বুধবারে আমরা লিডারশিপ স্পিকার সিরিজ, এডমন্টন সময় রাত 8টা, টরন্টো সময় রাত 10টা এবং কলকাতার সময় সকাল 7:30, পরবর্তী দিন বাংলাদেশ সময় সকাল 8টা পরবর্তী দিন। সুতরাং আপনারা আমাদের ফেসবুক পেজ রয়েছে, আমাদের ফেসবুক পেজে আমরা লক্ষ্য করতে পারেন, প্রেরণা টেলিভিশন। আমাদের প্রেরণা টেলিভিশনের পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদেরকে শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি। ধন্যবাদ।